Hello and welcome. Today we're making bread with all-purpose flour. So why use all-purpose instead of red flour? Well, here are my reasons for doing so. Let's start with a loaf. Firstly, we'll need to heat the water in a saucepan until just lukewarm and stir in just enough salt to strengthen the gluten bonds in our dough later without disturbing the yeast. Use something like a wooden spoon so it doesn't scratch your pan. Yeast thrive around body temperature. Just touch your wrist and compare how warm it is to the water. We want it to be similar. You don't need to add any sugar, but warm water is essential for activating your active dry yeast. Another popular kind of yeast is called fast action yeast, or sometimes instant yeast, which doesn't need to be dissolved in warm water first to activate in a recipe, but it's less common and tends to have more additives in it. Then we mix in the flour. You can substitute in fast action yeast, it will just mean fermentation will take a bit less time. Your flour should have a protein content of around 10%. This will affect how much gluten is in it. We'll need this to build the structure in our dough. You can check this on the side of the packet under the nutrition information section. Now we're switching from our mixing spoon to our hands. If you're quick with your hands, it won't stick as badly, but now we've got to slap it around a bit smoother until all the ingredients are well combined. Then we'll tuck it under itself into a smooth ball and let it rest covered with the lid for 20 minutes. This allows the gluten to hydrate properly, changing it into a far more workable state, making kneading a breeze. You can see the difference immediately when I try and pick it up here. Kneading creates a web-like structure in the gluten that helps trap bubbles of CO2 that the yeast create, which puffs up the dough. I like to do a few stretch and folds in the yeast first. It doesn't actually stick to the counter too badly, so you don't need to worry about flouring the table. And that also means you don't have to worry about adding unworked flour into the dough. An easy way to knead it is like I'm doing here. Hold the closest part down with the side of one hand, stretch it out away from you with the palm of the other, then fold it, turn it, and repeat. You'll know it's sufficiently kneaded when you can hold it up to a light source and stretch it out and see light coming through. This is called the window pane test, but it can look very different for each recipe. Bulk fermenting is the first time we ferment our dough. We're now waiting for it to double in size. Here the yeast grows sporadically, creating large CO2 bubbles in areas it thrived in, but barely any CO2 in other areas that it needed longer to digest. We couldn't cook this after just one fermentation, as bread needs lots of evenly spaced CO2 bubbles throughout to cook properly. Here's how to stop the loaf sticking to the tin as it cooks. First of all, we're just going to grease it up with some olive oil. Then we're going to sprinkle on about a teaspoon of flour. And give it a little shake. Then we're going to tilt it to cover the sides. It always goes to the side that you tap it. See how it refuses to go down the slope here when I tap it on the wrong side. Our 900-gram loaf tin is now ready. Now we punch down and degas the dough so there's no leftover bubbles from the first fermentation that could join with the new ones forming on the second fermentation, leaving us with big random holes in our dough, which when cooked, our sandwich bread filling would fall straight through. though you probably don't need to be as thorough at degassing it as me. Shape your dough into a rectangle lined up with your tin so it's the same width, then simply roll it up and throw it in. It will spread evenly in the tin as it ferments, so we don't have to push it down, which would remove some of the floured sides of our tin. Now put it in the fridge and cover it. If you don't, the circulating cold air in there will dry out any exposed surface of the dough while it undergoes its final fermentation to double in size again, called proofing, for 12 hours. This creates the final shape of our bread before cooking, with the now more evenly spaced bubbles from the yeast. Now 12 hours might seem like a long time, but if you prepare it in the evening, sleep, and then pull it out and cook it fresh the next morning, you won't even feel like you waited that long. Slowing down the fermentation in the fridge allows more time for the complex starches in the dough to break down, improving flavour. After proofing, we're going to take it out of the fridge and bake it straight away at 200 degrees Celsius for around 35 minutes. During cooking, the heat speeds up the CO2 production of the yeast for a short while before killing them off. Then the trapped bubbles in the dough begin to expand from the heat until the protein structure firms up and sets in place. We're looking to brown the top of it lightly, which is important to ensure our loaf cooks the whole way through. You know it's cooked when you can insert a skewer into it and it comes out clean. It's tempting to eat it straight away, but the heat and steam will still be cooking it on the inside, so you'll need to wait about an hour first. If you're not eating all of the bread on the day you bake it, it's a good idea to cut it into slices and freeze it to prevent it staling. Here are some ways I like to enjoy my bread. Let me know how you like yours in the comments below. If you don't have a loaf tin, you can make these buns instead. I'm adding some chives to mine. To divide up the dough to make it into smaller buns, you can roll it up into a cylinder, then just twist it. Just remember to keep them far away from each other on the tray, or they'll laugh at you and join together and make one giant bun as if you never divided the dough. We follow the same process as before. But you don't need to brown it as much in the oven, and it's fine to wait only a few minutes before turning them out and eating them. And here's how to make bread if you don't even have an oven. First, we'll need to pry off a few whole cabbage leaves with the back of a spoon. We'll be using these to steam our dough on. You could also make the dough in the saucepan and then wash it out to reuse it for steaming. After washing and drying the cabbage, I'm placing the 3 pieces of divided dough inside them. You can actually stuff ingredients in the middle of the buns for a filling, but we're keeping it simple for today. Then we're just going to gently put that in our steamer basket to proof 12 hours, the same as the other breads. Then we'll put about an inch of water at the bottom of our pan. Bring it to a boil. Then place our basket on top to start steaming it. About 20 minutes later, it's time to check if they're cooked. We're going to place a skewer in, and it should come out clean. If it's been a while since you last used your yeast, it's a good idea to check it's still alive before you waste ingredients on a recipe. Here's a simple way to check. We do need to add a bit of sugar this time, as there's no flour for the yeast to eat. You'll only need to wait until you see bubbling action to know if your yeast is good, but this shouldn't take longer than 10 minutes. Until next time, see you around.